Hi, I'm Ian Engelbrecht, and I'm a manager for the system engineering team for Veeam in Africa. And today I'm going to take you through building a cyber resilience strategy with Veeam Software. Before we can build a cyber resilience strategy, we need to understand the scale of a cyber threat. So if we look at the last 4 years, when it comes to frequency, we can see that the frequency of attacks has drastically reduced, and attacks are down to 11 seconds globally, compared to what was happening 4 years ago, which was roughly 120 seconds globally. If we look at the cost of the global attacks over the last 5 years, we can see that that has increased to an amount of $20 billion US, and that is a mixture of ransoms paid, reputational damage, downtime, and so on. So to understand the cyber threat first, before we create the strategy, we need to understand how they work, what are their gains, to understand how to combat against a cyber threat. So what is a cyber threat? Cyber threat we can break up into two pieces: the actions and the tools that are used to create the action or do the action. So common actions done during a cyber threat would be data encryption, data deletion, data exfiltration, data injection, and device locking. Tools used to accomplish that, generally used through spam, phishing, malware as payloads, ransomware being a type of malware, and then DDoS or denial of service, locking you out of a system. Now, if we look at data encryption, most commonly done through self-explanatory, deleting your information. Data exfiltration is stealing your information or specific IP and releasing it online, sensitive company information. Data injection is injecting malicious code into your infrastructure to either exploit certain systems or to open backdoors. Device locking is a type of denial of service, locking you out of one of your platforms or out of your infrastructure through certain types of tools. So how is this done? If we look at how cyber criminals deliver and target systems, we can break it down into a few common scenarios. So the traditional way of delivery is through, and the most common is through BEC, which is business email compromise, and this is through phishing attacks by spreading that via spam to all the users, tricking them into clicking on links. New vulnerabilities that happen on a day-to-day basis, and this is code vulnerabilities in third-party software or vendor software that the vendor might not be aware of, that is available for exploit before the vendor patches, and this is called a zero-day exploit. Supply chain attacks, this is infecting legitimate apps at the source so that they get distributed throughout the infrastructure or throughout the organization, and there's multiple points of entry after that's been done. Insider threats, this is the misuse of authorized access. This could be disgruntled employees, this could be employees selling out their information. This could also be compromised BEC. Targeting, or what is targeted? Most commonly ICS, IoT, and SCADA type control systems, because these sit on perimeter or these are less secure in the infrastructure, and it's an easy target or easy first point to open the door into the wider infrastructure. And then what's a common practice is a double extortion. And this is when either your data is held ransom, and if you do not pay, they will leak a sample of it online to force you into paying, or if you don't pay, they will just leak all of your information online. Another double extortion is where one ransomware gang comes in, holds your data ransom, and then once you pay the ransom, they sell the exploit or credentials via the dark web, and a second gang comes in and then extorts you for the same ransom. So why is this on the increase? So why are we seeing more and more cyber attacks? And it's very simple. It comes down to three key factors. If we look at it from a cyber criminal point of view, the gains are there, the reach is there, the safety is there. So if we look at what's changed, really, the value and volume of data is on the rise and on the increase. And it's key that to every organization, data is the lifeblood of any organization. And without it, or with it being withheld, can cause drastic effect to the organization and reputational damage. So the value and volume of data is on the increase daily, And this plays into the hands of a cyber criminal. They understand the value of data and they can exploit this and hold an organization ransom because of these two factors. How this data has grown exponentially is partly due to digital transformation. So if we look at digital transformation over the last few years, some of this has been accelerated through the pandemic, but a lot of customers or organizations have moved from their legacy physical infrastructure, got into virtualization, got into cloud as a service type offerings, so infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service offerings. And then a lot of companies or organizations have modernized their apps and moved that into container type platforms. What this has done is created multiple different platforms where data has been generated, which is considered a sprawl of data, and data is on the increase, as well as there's multiple infrastructures now that need to be managed from a security perspective. So the risk, the reach and the exposure, again, brought on by the COVID pandemic, you have a work from home workforce, and you have no control over that work from home workforce infrastructure. Pre-COVID, they were sitting inside office, inside the perimeter of the firewalls. You had a level of control over the network and security. Now sitting at home, working off their Wi-Fi, the password could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have no control over this. There's multiple devices connected on that same network. One could be a secured company device. The rest could be home user devices that are not secure or could have been compromised already. Then you have communication. Because of the work from home, you've done less and less, or you've had less chance to sit in front of the employees and give them information around security and protocols around security as well. Because of the work from home, it's become harder to educate the user. The change in user behavior from a consumer perspective is also that same user that's working for the company could also be shopping online. Shops were closed. And because of this, their digital footprint has increased, right? There's transactions happening online. There's more exposure to that user online because of the increase in digital footprint. Another accelerator for risk and reach was the move to cloud. To service the home user and to service online shopping for consumer, a lot of services had to go into the cloud. And this move to cloud has generated more data, but has also brought in a new risk or new attack vector that can be exploited by the cyber criminals. And then you have regulation. Regulation is something that plays into the hands of the cyber criminal, purely because loss of data or leaking of sensitive personal information can impose a fine by certain regulators in certain countries. And this is just another driver to extort you to pay them so that they don't do this and you don't impose any kind of fine. So why is it safe for them to do these types of crime? And it's driven through cryptocurrency. So the way that crypto transactions are anonymous plays into their hands. It's the risk versus the reward. They're able to get their gains by avoiding the risk of being traced back after the payments have been done to them. So why should you care? Well, we have a simple theory. You've either been hacked already, or you're next in line, or you're purely just buying time. So this is key to understand. We're not saying that everyone will be hacked, but it is inevitable that you would have some kind of cyber threat or cyber breach to your organization. So rather than buying time or being the one next in line, take care of that responsibility now. So you've either been hacked and you understand everything I've just said, or this is something that you need to take seriously. So what Veeam does is Veeam follows a NIST security framework when it comes to product development. What that means is we align our features and products through these specific factors, and that is identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And if I look into that or explain that in more detail, let's look at identify the information that is key to the business. Data tagging information that is critical. Data locality, understand where that data resides. If it's geographically located, understand that this critical information sits in Cape Town, that critical information sits in Nigeria, or specific financial information sits in Kenya. You need to understand this. You need to have a business view of this and have SLAs tied around that information. Once you've identified your information, you need to protect your information. To protect your information, you need to follow best practices when it comes to data protection, data recovery. And one of those is following a 3-2-1-1-0 rule. 3 copies of your data, 2 of those copies sitting on 2 different types of storage medium, one of those being offsite, one of those being air-gapped or immutable, and 0 errors across all that data. You can have multiple copies, but if there's errors or integrity issues with those copies, you can't recover from it, and that's probably one of the biggest things that you need to look at. Immutable storage is key to making this rule work. Make data readable but not writable, and lock it down for a certain period in time. Encrypting storage is also key. This combats against exfiltration. You don't want these copies to be stolen and used against you. And then using features from Veeam like show backup, show replica to test your data on a frequent basis to ensure that the integrity is there and held. Detection, monitoring and alerting using data integration or alerts set up in Veeam 1. What this will do is preempt or help you detect when an attack is potentially happening. So specific alerts that will alert you on suspicious activity in your environment so that you can respond. And how do you respond? You look at orchestration, so orchestrating a failover into another disaster recovery site, and that doesn't always have to be exactly the same infrastructure. You need to be fluid. You need to be able to fail over all your virtual infrastructure into a cloud provider or into a hyperscaler. This needs to be part of your mobility strategy as well. So orchestrating your failover, having an SLA validation against that orchestration so you can understand data loss, downtime. And then you need to document this. Dynamically documenting every single step is key so that the person or your successor can understand the exact same process and the years of work you put into this strategy to respond. Recovery is the last and final, probably the most critical step. Without recovery, you can't respond correctly or protect your infrastructure correctly. You need to be able to securely restore your data when an event has taken place. You need to have item level, granular level type of recovery. You can't be shifting terabytes of data because you've lost a small amount of transactional information. You need to be able to go down to an item level and restore certain transactions. You need to be able to instantly recover. You need mechanisms in place and technology in place to instantly make that copy available without having to wait for it to copy across to a different storage medium and then making it accessible. It must instantly be able to be used. And then data labs, testing this information is key, and testing those capabilities are key. So if we look at the years past and what we've observed from an incident perspective from cybersecurity is the pitfalls where customers are not using or organizations are not using certain types of technology. And these are the breakdowns in any kind of cybersecurity strategy. So key is MFA, multi-factor authentication, wherever possible in your infrastructure. You need to use this. This is key. Ejecting tapes from your library. If you're using tapes, and this is your offsite copy or your offline copy or your additional copy, you need to ensure that the tapes are ejected to maintain rotation and use a worm type write once, read many strategy on the storage to ensure that you need to eject the tape. If the tape is still in the library, it can be erased. Prioritization. You need to identify the key systems that you protected and you need to restore these first. A breakdown here is a bad incident response plan. So you could be protecting your key information, but you start restoring the incorrect data first or orchestrating a failover with the incorrect systems first, and you just cause further damage by additional downtime. You need to identify what's important. You need to prioritize those systems. You need to orchestrate and fail over those systems first. Ultra resilient copies. This is key here. Protect your last line of defense. Your best line of defense is to recover from an event. So protect your backup data. The breakdown here is not following the 3-2-1-1-0 rule, not having additional copies, not having immutable copies, not having offline copies. All of those copies being compromised, you can't recover. Encryption of your backups. This is key to avoid data exfiltration. If you have additional copies and they're not secure, they can be used against you by being restored into a cyber criminal's lab and is able to extract information and leak that online. A breakdown here is losing encryption passwords and then you're unable to restore. So you need a password management from an encryption algorithm and keys that you're using to encrypt, as well as you need to ensure encryption is happening. And then separation. You need to separate accounts. You can't have one account that rules all. A breakdown here is the domain admin that has access to the infrastructure, production, as well as backup infrastructure. A single account gets compromised and your entire infrastructure is compromised. So again, backup being the last line of defense when recovering from a cyber event or cyber threat. When we looked at what happens to your backups in the event of a cyber threat, generally they can be modified, they can be deleted, they can be read, they can be accessed, they can be destroyed. You need to safeguard against this. So putting measures in place to protect your backup data. This is your last line of defense. You need to ensure that you have security focus on your backup infrastructure. Ensure immutability to avoid modification and deletion. Ensure encryption so your data cannot be read or exfiltrated out of your backup. Ensure authentication, proper access control into your backup infrastructure. Ensure tagging so you understand the locations of where your data resides from a backup copy perspective. And ensure offline copies so that it cannot be destroyed. Offline media, so that the media can't be targeted or the storage device directly can't be targeted. And this is going to safeguard you against data encryption, data deletion, data exfiltration, data injection. Another key aspect to securing your infrastructure from a cyber resilience perspective or strategy is to ensure end-to-end security in mind when creating an infrastructure or creating services for the new model of work from home or remote users, right? You need to be able to use any cloud, right, for a backup target, or be able to back up in any cloud. Wherever your services sit, you could have services split across AWS, Azure, and GCP. You need to be able to be doing native backup across those clouds through a single product. You need to ensure that you have user-based role access into different cloud platforms. You need to secure and break down user roles and provide sufficient access to what that user does or the responsibility of that user. You need to have endpoint security across all your devices as they sit in remote locations. You need to have secure network access like VPN into your infrastructure. You need to have firewalls between all your different services and your different infrastructure, filtering and blocking unwanted traffic. You need to use MFA across the entire infrastructure, multi-factor authentication. You need to enforce some kind of Wi-Fi security, on your work from home or remote user work from anywhere workforce to ensure that that is not going to be what's compromised and the entry into your infrastructure. So let's look at Veeam as a platform. Veeam as a platform and data protection solution can cover applications from database to plugins through SAP HANA, and from a container perspective, a Kubernetes platform, as well as protecting native cloud functions. So doing backups and data protection in AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, protecting SaaS solutions like Office 365, protecting virtual infrastructure, private clouds being vSphere, Nutanix AHV, Hyper-V, Red Hat or RHV, as well as physical legacy infrastructure or just physical infrastructure, which could be running Windows, Linux, Mac, or Unix, where we just do backups of those physical bare metal infrastructure, as well as protecting unstructured data that might be sitting on storage devices or storage shares. So the entire solution, native solution to all the different platforms, cloud, SaaS, application, virtual, physical, and unstructured data is then covered by Veeam One, doing monitoring and analytics, backup and replication, as well as an orchestration for DR for all of the backups created. This can be offered through our service provider program where service providers are doing this as a service. So modern data protection as a service across all the different native solutions. Every single layer is secure if you follow the best practice. If you follow a cyber resilience strategy that we've just communicated, you can have a secured layer solution from the service offering, modern data protection down to the native solutions that we run. And thank you very much. That's my time. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.